Hello, welcome to the Detroit Lions Tortured Fans podcast. I'm your host, Barry Schumer. I'm coming to you on July 10th, 2026, only 2 weeks from tomorrow to the opening of training camp for our boys in Allen Park, Michigan. And then just 4.5 weeks from now, August 13th, we get to look at the team, our 2026 team, for the first time in the first exhibition game at Cincinnati. So it's getting close. It's getting exciting. Can't wait. I'm sure you can't either. I am the author of the book, I Don't Believe It, We're Good, The New Detroit Lions, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Take a look at it. It's a must for any true Lions fan. And like I've said in the past podcasts, even though I am pointing out negatives, terrible moments in the Lions' history, painful moments for fans, I am 100% on board with this team. I love Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, and what Sheila Ford has done with the team, and I can't wait for the season to go. I am very optimistic. I believe we're going to go 13-4, and I think we're going to play in the Super Bowl this year in Los Angeles on February 14th, 2027. We'll see. We'll see. Today, I want to talk about a few issues before I get on to my next three tortured moments. I believe I've left you off at number 24, so we're going to go 25, 26, and 27 today. But before I start that, I wanted to bring up just some other folklore and interesting things that have happened in the past with the Lions. I'm going to start with when William Clay Ford bought the team in 1963. It was clearly an incredible business decision by Ford. He got the team for $4.3 million. Today it is valued somewhere between $1 and $2 billion. So that was quite a great investment that he decided to make. The problem with that story, and it gets into the whole past of the Lions curse and, Jinxie here that I named because of the curse, and they tried to get rid of the curse 4 years ago at Ford Field in the bathtub. And I think we've gotten rid of most of it. But the problem with that, when Ford bought the team, was he signed the final papers on the day President Kennedy was assassinated, November 22nd, 1963. His business partners and his friends told William Clay Ford, you have to delay the purchase of the team and the signing today. We cannot do this after the President of the United States was just assassinated. But William Clay Ford insisted on doing it that day. He did not want to wait. Is that associated with the Lions curse for 70 years? I don't know. Let's hope not, but that was not a good karma sign, was it? That he showed us a level of disrespect to the President of the United States who had just died. So that to me is an interesting story in Lions folklore. Another one is the couple of coaches, assistant coaches we had on the Lions. And I can't really fault the Lions organization for this because you don't know that somebody's going to be an assistant coach and go on to become one of the greatest coaches, head coaches in NFL history. Yes, we had Bill Belichick as a Lions assistant coach, man who ended up winning 6 Super Bowls with New England. And the other famous coach we had was Don Shula as an assistant coach. And being very famous with the Miami Dolphins, only team that went 17-0, including the Super Bowl win. They were 14-0 in the season. Only undefeated team in the history of the NFL, I believe. So again, it's unfortunate. Obviously, it would have been nice to have those guys coaching the Lions for 20 years. But that happens all the time, that some sort of no-name assistant goes on to become a great head coach. And it's hard to predict that kind of thing. But I think that's sort of an interesting story, too. The other story I have for you today, back to the Matt Millen era. And one day, there's a story that Matt Millen was in his office one day, and he's reading the newspaper. He's got his face in the newspaper, and the head scout for the team comes into Millen and says, Matt, I think we have a good chance to sign Drew Brees. And Millen peeks his head out from the newspaper and says, "No, I'm good. We're all set with Joey Harrington. I'm good with that." Well, talk about some bad decisions, right? Drew Brees goes on to set all kinds of records as a quarterback, wins the Super Bowl with the New Orleans Saints. I think he's either number one or two for all time passing yardage. It's either Brady or Drew Brees that has the most yards passing. I think it's somewhere towards 75, 80,000 yards. So that was another big mistake by Matt Millen. He made many. So again, those are just things that each little story adds a bit more torture to what we've gone through since 1957. Okay, so today I'm going to start and give you the next three I don't tortured fan moments. So we've gotten through the first 24. I'm going to start with number 27, 26, and 25, the way we've been doing it backwards. Number 27, October of 1980, week 5, we lose to the Atlanta Falcons 43-28. And the Falcons had 2 fumbles returned for touchdowns and a blocked punt returned for a touchdown in the first half. That sounds a little bit like torture, doesn't it? Yeah, that's incredible. That doesn't usually happen. 2 fumbles and a blocked punt returned for TDs. Now, that year that we lost to Atlanta was the famous year that I believe he was a cornerback, Jimmy Spider-Man Allen, went to the recording studio to record the famous Queen song, Another One Bites the Dust. They were 4-0 when he went to the studio, and it didn't go so well after he recorded that song. The Lions went 5-7, ended up 9-7. I'm not even sure if they made the playoffs. I believe 1980 would have been the first year Billy Sims was on the team. But another sort of cool thing by a Lions player sort of backfires, you know. But look, he had some Hollywood in him, and he wanted to record that song, and he was excited about the 4-0 start. You never know in the NFL. You can start out 0-3 and then win 10 in a row, or you can start out 4-0 and lose a lot of games after that. So that was my number 27. Number 26, November 27, 1980, the same year. The same year. The Bears return an overtime kickoff, 95 yards, and the game is over. It is the shortest overtime game in history. The Lions have the distinction, we have the distinction of records, most of them for futility, some of them for great accomplishments, such as Barry Sanders and some of the things that were done that have become really positive. Another example, Jared Goff going 18 for 18 a couple years ago in a game. So we have some positive records, but mostly records of futility, and that's one we have, the shortest game in the history of the NFL in overtime. And number 25, October 7th, 1984, we lose to Denver 28-7, and the Lions have 10 turnovers. Can you imagine 10 turnovers? That's incredible. I got to believe it's the most turnovers they've ever had in a game. It was 7 interceptions and 3 fumbles. So that is not good. Can you imagine the pain Lions fans had watching that one? So I got these last 3 and my future ones from the part of my book. At the end of the book, I have appendices and summaries of games during those years. And I start out with 1976 to 1980, and it goes all the way through to 2003. So that is 27 years, and I picked out certain games that I guess represented I don't believe it moments and tortured moments for fans. So you can take a look at that in the back of my book, but I I was able to come up with plenty of other tortured moments. I'd forgotten about this, and plenty more at the back of the book with the history from 76 to 2003. So, Lion fans, that's it for today. Again, 2 weeks from tomorrow, our boys go to training camp. We're going to get to look at some of the rookies, some of our draft picks. We're going to see how some of the veterans with significant injuries the past couple years are doing. Joseph, Branch, Laporta, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I've gone to the Lions training camp many times in Allen Park. It's usually hotter than hell there, but it's fun to see the boys up close, take some pictures, get some souvenirs and that kind of thing. The Lions do a nice job of providing that experience for the fans. And then I'm ready to watch the opening exhibition game August 13th at Cincinnati. Again, you can't tell a lot from exhibition because a lot of the starters don't play very much. They're really taking a look at the rookies and some of the free agents that they brought in. But I hope Campbell plays our starters a little bit more these 3 preseason games. Um, because last year in the beginning of the year, we've had times where in the beginning of the year we do not look very sharp. So, I mean, I know there's always the risk of injury, but that can happen at any time, even in training camp or practice before training camp. So I hope the starters are prepared and get a little experience before opening day, September 13th at home against New Orleans. Okay, fans, you see Jinxie over here. He'll be coming off the bench very shortly. I hope training camp is going to be good for you, Jinxie. I know you've been working a lot, exercising a lot, and getting ready for 2 weeks from now. And you see my NFL ball there. It's a little bit of an undersized ball I used to play catch with my grandsons. And it's got the NFL logo on it, and we are ready to go. One more stat that's sort of interesting. I'm watching the World Cup soccer, and I do not like soccer. I feel it's the most boring game I've ever seen. But I got caught up in some of the hoopla with the United States making it to the final 16. So I watched the second half of the game on Monday where they lost 4-1. They did not play well. And I looked up, I was curious about the stats of how many people watch soccer worldwide. And it is 4 billion people. That is incredible. That's half the world population. There's 8 billion people alive, and half of them are soccer fans. And then I looked up the NFL, and we have 400 million people that watch the NFL. That's a lot of people. I mean, that's more than the 340 million people we have in the United States. So obviously, they're growing their base in Europe as they're trying to for the last 5 or 10 years. So I thought those were interesting stats. I was shocked to see how many people watch soccer. I consider it an incredibly boring game compared to the NFL. The NFL is so much more exciting, for sure. I'm sure you see my point. Okay, fans, I will see you next time.